Welcome to a very special edition of Biz in 30. Today, we're honored to host a guest who embodies leadership, service, and entrepreneurial success. I'm talking about Lieutenant Colonel Wayne Pare, retired U.S. Army, 1st Ranger Battalion. Wayne is a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He holds an M.B.A. and served our great nation for 24 years, including 5 tours in Iraq and 3 tours in Afghanistan. Today's conversation is going to be action-packed and full of practical takeaways. Here's what we're going to cover: why Wayne chose the franchise route to business ownership, his advice on selecting the right franchise for long-term success, some key insights on franchising versus starting a business from scratch, surprises he faced during his first year as a business owner, how he hires, trains, and retains great employees, and finally, how his military career prepared him for entrepreneurship and leadership. But before we dive in, let's get to know Wayne a little bit better.
Thanks, Jim. Wayne and his wife, Erin, are proud parents of 2 children and will be celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary next year. Congratulations, Wayne and Erin. That's a tremendous event to have. We have a fun fact. Erin also represents my district in the North Carolina State Legislature. So this interview is extra special for me. The day after Wayne officially retired from the military, he jumped right into business ownership, preparing for the opening of his Play It Again sports franchise in Holly Springs, North Carolina. Wayne's family has a deep tradition of military service. His late father was an Army helicopter pilot who volunteered for 2 tours in Vietnam, and Erin's father also served in Vietnam. Wayne, thank you not only for your incredible service, but please extend our gratitude to your father-in-law as well, and know that we all honor your late father's legacy. It's a true honor to have you here in Biz in 30, Wayne. Welcome.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Welcome, and thank you for your service. Let's kick things off. Tell us about your business, the number of years you've been open, number of employees, your primary market, and of course, what your hottest selling items are right now.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've been very blessed and learned lots of good lessons in my transition from the military into a business owner, and hopefully that can be helpful to others. But as y'all mentioned, following my retirement from the Army, my wife Erin and I did choose to open a Play It Again sports store here in Holly Springs, North Carolina. For those of you who are not familiar with Play It Again sports, we do both new and quality used sports and fitness equipment, and we also buy used sports equipment from our customers. The used stuff that we sell in our store, we buy from our customers. So that's what makes our model a little bit different than other stores, is that we take things, sports and fitness gear that you no longer need. We pay you cash on the spot for them, or we give you 10 to 20% more in store credit so that you can save money on the equipment that you need now. So we opened in October of 2017. So 8 years, it'll be 8 years next month. And it's been just a really great ride. We do pretty much any sports and fitness stuff in the area that you need. We sell it. But our biggest categories are baseball and softball. We sell a ton of baseball bats and gloves and backpacks and helmets. Baseball is very big in this area. Our other big categories are fitness equipment, not just machines like treadmills and ellipticals. We also do weights and benches and bars, that kind of thing. Bicycles has grown a lot for us and done very well, especially since COVID. And golf. Golf right now is our fastest growing category. 3-4 years ago, golf was number 4 behind baseball, fitness, and bicycles, but it has grown and it's now a solid number 2 right behind baseball, which is interesting because when we first started, we were focused on youth sports and general fitness equipment, but golf is more of an adult sport. We do sell youth golf clubs and sets as well, but it's brought a different dynamic of customer into our store as it's grown over the last couple of years. So we're very blessed. We did miss the mark on a couple categories as well, where we thought they were going to be big, but they haven't turned out to be. That's part of the deal. But we're very happy with the growth that our business has seen over the last 8 years. As far as our team goes, we've been very blessed with some great folks to work with over the years. We've had as many as 12 employees at one time, but right now we're actually the smallest we've ever been. We're at 6 plus myself. I've got 4 full-time employees and 2 part-timers right now. It's a great place to work. We've really enjoyed it, and we've met some great folks along the way.
What was the primary reason that you chose Play It Again Sports as a franchise?
Well, once you pass 20 years in the Army, you don't have to move again if you don't want to. And so after I had passed 20 years, Aaron and I would say, hey, if we end up going somewhere that we fall in love with, let's just stay there and figure the rest out. And so we moved here in 2014, and after about a year, Aaron and I decided that this is the place that we wanted to stay and raise our kids. It was the right time for us to settle down. Our kids were little at that point. But we ended up spending my last 3 years here on active duty. And I always kind of, had thought about opening a business. There was other opportunities going back to the military as a civilian employee or a contractor or something like that. I had other opportunities to contribute in other ways, but we basically decided that what was right for our family at that time was doing our own thing and starting a business. So since we had lived here for 3 years while on active duty, we kind of saw a need. Like I said, my kids were little. They were in their first couple of years of elementary school, and they had gotten into recreational sports here in the Holly Springs Parks and Rec. They played t-ball and soccer and basketball, and my wife Erin and I were coaching in the local parks and rec as well. And so we identified that there wasn't a whole lot of places to get sports equipment in this area at that time. There's a big box store that's primarily a clothing store that also sells sporting goods, but their customer service wasn't too great. And then there's also Amazon getting things shipped in from out of town. And then you really don't know what you're going to get until it arrives on your front porch. So we saw a need for a more of a neighborhood sporting goods store, something a little smaller with great customer experience that could help, whether it be parents with a child getting into a sport for the first time or someone that didn't know exactly what they needed for their home gym, something that we could help people in that way. And so we saw that niche and we decided that it was a good fit for us. So when it came time to make that decision for post-Army employment, we decided to open the Play It Again Sports Store.
Well, that's very interesting. Thank you. What went into your thought process on the decision to purchase a franchise versus doing your own startup?
Well, it was a logical choice for us. And what I mean by that, with my military background, 24 years in the Army, I knew a lot about how to build teams and how to train people. But I knew very little, in fact, almost nothing about retail sales or the sporting goods industry and business. So when we were thinking about the Play It Again Sports Store, it seemed like the right fit because I knew that I could develop procedures and run the store on a day-to-day basis and put those systems in place for us to be successful running the store. But I really needed help with how to get started, how to build the store out, how to stock it, where to get new inventory from, and that kind of thing. And that's where the Play It Again Sports corporate headquarters, it's called Winmark, really helped. And of course, we pay for it. Every week, they suck a chunk of royalties out of my bank account. But in hindsight, 8 years into it now, it is very well worth it. It was the right choice for us based on that. We needed that expertise to help us build a retail store that had the potential for success. And they did that for us.
That's excellent, Wayne. And I've been in your store and it has a lot of high quality merchandise in it. I can tell you that. In fact, I'm a customer. I bought a treadmill there. So
We appreciate it.
And it's great. Wayne, there's so many franchise opportunities out there. Some like Play It Again Sports have been highly successful, some not so much. So if you would please share with us what you think the key elements are in selecting a strong franchise opportunity.
Well, I really think it boils down to the simple fact that you have to pick the right business for your market, whether it's where you currently live or somewhere else that you desire to be. You have to pick a business, a franchise that is correct for that area. In our case, we lived it with our kids, and we figured out there was a need in the community. However, we still did our research. I went to the local business development office in the town hall at Holly Springs, and I talked to the experts there. We looked at the population demographics, young families, kids, projected growth, which has exceeded those expectations, which is great for us, a growing market. We also talked to other business owners. I talked to Play It Again Sports owners who had successful businesses. I talked to some that had gone bankrupt and were not successful. And I talked to them about the market we were in, how they were successful and everything else. And so that research really helped us lead to that decision. And what I learned through talking to small business owners and those other Play It Again Sports owners is the ones that seemed to be the most successful for me were in the right market, the right location, but they also had an owner who was actively involved in the business day to day. The owners that had other part-time jobs or other distractors they often weren't as successful because they weren't able to run the business the way they needed to be run because they weren't hands-on every day. And so I was willing to make that commitment. Aaron was not working at the time. Our kids were young. They didn't have all those extracurriculars after school that occupy our time so much now that they're a sophomore and a senior in high school. Now it's a lot more going on with kids. But we were at that time, we decided that our process of doing that research and making sure everything was right, we were accepting reasonable risks that we were willing to assume, and we were confident that we would be successful, and it's worked out great.
That's exactly what I was looking for. That's perfect. Just for your information, Jim was owner of a commercial property development company in Chicago, and I owned a business for 30 years also. He was in business for 35 years, and I think we both would tell you that the owner's involvement is so key, so key. So let me ask you a question. After your first year in business, what was your impression? Were there any surprises your first year?
It's funny that the biggest surprise I had is also the most enjoyable part of the business for me. I was focused on business plan, the numbers, the day-to-day operations, making everything work, making sure we were fully stocked and all that kind of thing. But what I didn't realize was that the biggest part of my business was actually being in the store and meeting people and building relationships. And that actually turned out to be the most important or most positive part of the business and the job for me. Was I really enjoyed being there, working with the customers, building relationships with folks, learning the team moms from the local schools and the coaches and the leagues that are running around here, the Holly Springs Parks and Rec, Fuquay Park and Rec. Building relationships with those folks has just been very enjoyable, and it has also helped our business. And we've also helped a whole lot of teams raise money, save money on stuff, and really helped out the local Parks and Rec with sponsorship and the local teams as well. So I wasn't expecting that. And it has turned out to be the most enjoyable part of the job for me. So that's the biggest surprise that I've had.
That's fantastic. What a surprise. That's a great lesson there for everyone. Having had such a successful and distinguished military career, what military skills, experiences, and knowledge have helped you become so successful as a business owner?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to build a good team and to train people is primarily what I brought to the table. But in addition to that, in the military, you really need to be an expert in your field. And that carried over very well to the business as well, because just like you're in the military, you have to be the subject matter expert in everything that's going on in the store. As the owner, operator, hands-on every day, especially those first 3-4 years, I had to be better at doing everything in the store than anybody else. I had to learn everything about the day-to-day business, how the computer systems work, the inventory, everything. I had to be able to do it. I even learned to be a bike mechanic. I had no idea that I'd be able to do that, but now I'm a pretty good one. Everything in the store you have to be good at, and you have to be willing to do everything that nobody else can do or nobody else wants to do. So being an expert in your field is very important, because if there's an employee with a question they need answered or a problem they need solved, you're the person they're going to call if you're not at the store. And you have to be able to answer that question. You have to be able to solve that problem. And thankfully, we've been pretty good at that. But you must also be willing to do the hard work right alongside your employees. We're a small team. In a bigger business, maybe that's not the case as much, but I'll give you a couple examples. In 8 years, I have never asked anyone to clean the bathroom in our store that our employees and our customers use. If it needed cleaning, I would clean it, and they would see me do it. But I haven't been in the store as much the last couple of years, and I haven't cleaned the bathroom that much. I know they're doing it. They know I'm willing to do it and do those hard tasks, those not so much fun things. I'm willing to do those right alongside with them. Another example I give you is, in fact, tomorrow we have a delivery of 3 pallets of about 7,000 pounds of weights, just weights, bars, dumbbells, benches. They're coming on a couple pallets. And they set the pallets on the ground. We have to haul all that stuff in the store. This time of year, we're very blessed. It's not that warm outside. Tomorrow, the weather looks good. But we have had 25,000 pound deliveries in June when it's been upper 90s and in the sun and horrible. And I always make it a point to go up there and help. Whenever we have big deliveries coming in, I'm always there and help unload those things, move it inside the store. I don't have to be. We've got a great team now. They're perfectly capable, but I choose to do those things just so I'm doing that hard work right alongside the employees.
Wayne, to kind of continue this discussion, what advice can you offer to business owners and entrepreneurs who are viewing this video on training new employees and employee retention in a new business?
To me, the number one priority for our team is to make it fun for them to be in the store. If your employees are there having fun, it is contagious. Customers will have fun. The customers will stay longer. They'll spend more money, and they will come back more often. This starts with hiring the right people. When I'm interviewing someone, or now my manager is interviewing folks, we focus on, are they going to be a good fit for the team based on the people and the personalities that are already there. That is the number one priority. Everything else we can train them on. If they have that personality, they're going to be a good team member. They'll also interact well with our customers. Having a fun work environment also helps with retention as well. We've had people leave our store for higher paying jobs and return a few months later. I actually had one employee who worked for me for almost 5 years, leave twice and come back. And we've had another one who's still with us today who left for a job that paid him twice as much. But he did enjoy it, and he came back, and he's still with us today, and he's a huge contributor. He's one of our better employees for sure. So, that fun work environment is critical, and being around people that enjoy being around has been great. Of course, you also have to pay people what they're worth. When we first opened 8 years ago, we had a significantly more limited payroll budget than we do now. So as a result of that, I worked a ton on the floor myself, and we only had part-time employees. We had 10 to 12 part-timers, younger folks who we could pay a little bit less and still get the job done. But as our revenue grew, I made it a priority to pay the key contributors more, give them raises as fast as possible so that they would be more willing to stay longer. So over the years, that's built to the point where I have 4 full-time employees. I could never have afforded that when we first opened. But now I've got one full-timer who's been with us for almost 7 years. I've got 2 who've been with it for over 3 years. It's just fantastic. I don't think any of those people have a desire to leave in the near future because we're able to pay them sufficiently to meet their needs and also give them a work environment that they enjoy being in. So overall, we have been truly blessed. The great people that we work with have made this fun and enjoyable, and it really helped our business turn into what it is today.
That's fantastic. Wayne, I'd like to ask you a question that we didn't discuss earlier, but I think it would be, for our viewers, very important to know. If you had to, you're talking culture, okay? You've built a unique culture in your business. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, by far.
Okay. What would you call that culture if you had to name it?
I think it's just cohesiveness, being there at the team, and people willing to help each other out. We're a pretty tight group, and it's really paid off. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It's perfect. And Jim and I are very key on culture because we both had to build it in our businesses. And boy, you've done a great job, Wayne. For the viewers who are considering business ownership, and we do have a lot of entrepreneurs that come in our audience, what kind of financial position do they need to be in before they begin a business ownership journey, whether it's franchise or startup?
Well, I think it'll be different for everyone based on their considerations, their area, but I can tell how we did it. We saved money for a long time. Aaron and I also, throughout my military career and everything else, we always made a point to save some money, never knew we needed for. But also once we made that decision after moving here, we lived here about a year and we decided we were going to stay. We saved a lot of money. We made it a priority to put a nest egg aside because we didn't know what the future would hold. And we wanted to make sure we were in a position to make that transition. And it worked out that we needed to do that. We chose in our business plan, when we started looking at the numbers initially, we chose not to take a penny out of the business for at least the first year. And so we primarily lived on savings with a little bit of outside income, but we knew that we would be able to do it. And we ended up having to need to do that. But we actually ended up not taking any money out of the business for the first 14 months. So we had the capital saved up to start the business, and we had the savings in place to sustain us until we got the business to a point where we could start drawing revenue from it. And another thing is you got to be prepared to work your tail off. As you mentioned in the introduction, Jim, I did not take any time off after retiring from the Army. I literally transitioned straight in. I had my retirement ceremony one day, and then the next day I was in the space that we had rented, working with contractors to complete the build out of the business. And I ended up not taking a complete day off for almost 8 months. I wasn't there from open to close every day for that whole 8 months. The first 3-4 months I was. I was there every single day from open to close and did everything. But I worked a portion of every day for 8 months until Aaron finally grabbed me by the collar and told me I was taking her and the kids to the beach for a couple of days. That was in the summer of 2018. 2018 after we had opened in October of 2017. It's been a great experience. It's turned into a blessing for our family and a great resource for the community, and we're very proud of it.
That's a familiar story, isn't it, Jim? You really have done a great job. You've been so gracious to spend your valuable time with us today, and we have a rather rapidly expanding audience because of people like you that provide so much value. So thank you so much. And again, thanks for your service. And this is a great nation that you've served. Now, to our viewers and listeners, thank you for spending your valuable time with us. We know you got value from Wayne Pare, and we truly appreciate it.
You gentlemen, it's my pleasure. Really enjoyed it.